Morning all. Start with a bit of introduction for Conneqt Business Solutions. Conneqt is one of India's largest business process management and collections outfit, largely serving the domestic industry. We've at about 26 delivery centers, 30,000 people on rolls, and earlier it was Tata Business Support Services. We now, of course, have Tata as a strategic investor. But we are part of the Quest Corp group, Bangalore-based. I'm sure all of you are aware. One of India's largest private sector employers into a number of fields for both customer and business support services. As far as BCP was concerned, being in the domestic industry and with a larger focus on the voice or the calling side. Work from home, or having a sort of 100% BCP is not really part of the design. Yeah, but in spite of that, both from an efficiency perspective, we were doing some small pilots to work from home even before this, this happened. So we actually, realized that work from home was the only solution. We have a large mass of agents, so we don't work on laptops. So what we did was from around middle of March, the entire organization came together to have a desktop shifted to our agents' homes. And how we selected those agents, we actually took, the guys who are more vintage with us, who had a track record of performance, who we could trust, because ultimately these are company assets which we were shifting to agents' homes. The entire organization rallied together. We had our own agents carrying laptops on their bikes, braving, and as you all may be aware, in the early days of the lockdown, there were instances, where, people were, or where the authorities were being a bit trigger happy, and, in terms of in some excesses. So we braved all of that, and we very quickly established a work from home model for almost all our customers who actually accepted it. Of course, we serve a large part of the banking and financial services industry. And there the acceptance was significantly slower from a data security perspective. And, we respected that. So starting from a position, where about our efficiencies work from home were about 30 to 40% of what we were in the office over a period of 3 to 4 weeks. The operations which we run currently, and currently about 50% of our operations are work from home enabled. Our SLAs, are pretty much close, if not better than what we used to do in the office environment. So what we did is we actually built a very, very robust work from home governance model. Yeah. So I think the good part, if I may use the word, is that of course there is a lesser amount of distraction. So yeah, so everybody is at home, nobody can really, go out or, be distracted by other things. And that will change as we go forward. So, we need to be mindful of that. So we had everybody's attention largely. Then we, of course, built a lot of monitoring mechanisms, so right from early morning briefings to, regular calls by the team leaders through the day, maybe monitoring 3 or 4 times in a day in terms of what's happening. We also, looked at how do we keep on motivating our employees? So a big part of that was, of course, the softer side of it, as also was alluded some time ago. So we did a lot of stuff virtually, So we started a hobby club, for example, just to give you one example, or we sort of did some Easter egg drawing competitions and a lot of stuff to sort of also look at, the softer aspects and the motivation aspects. We also ensured that we paid some incentives over and above what would we generally pay in an office environment, but of course linked to productivity, So if you look at that, if you look at some of our answer levels or our service levels, the kind of sales which we do. So, we do run a couple of processes where we do sales for our customers, So of course, in some sectors where there was a demand contraction, we did see some challenges, but otherwise our sales numbers are sort of pretty much right there. Our end customer NPS, and in fact, one of the India's largest private sector banks who we service has actually sort of had the largest number of people working from home for them, and of course we played a contribution into that. So a fair bit of success in terms of work from home environment. I believe that this will continue because it will be a start-stop economy over the next 6 to 9 months, and work from home will continue to be a very integral part of what our service offering would be. Of course, the percentage of work from office, work from home would differ, as I said, based on sector, and basis the client comfort. But I think we've sort of got there pretty quickly. We also kept data security in mind, so whether it's...
So that's interesting.
So I think another view here is the fact that, the work from home, when it becomes, more integral to the organization, will open up a lot of different sectors for employment, So typically, the gig workers, who would want to explore this option here, I think it's fantastic for that, So whether it's housewives who sort of, looking for, a second career, or, retired individuals, and it'll also help us move towards more a peace-oriented kind of working culture, yeah. So, so far we have been sort of, been straitjacketed in terms of, the labor regulations and, the stuff around it in terms of number of hours of login. People have also realized, that the travel time, and particularly in a city like Bombay, but I think that's true more and more of other locations also. I think that's a big saving, so yes, whilst I agree that sometimes the division between, your work-life balance gets a little, jeopardized, but I think that'll come around over a period of time. That would become the new normal of working from home. But I think there are infinite possibilities in terms of what we can do differently, how we can sort of pay for performance, how we can pay for productivity, with the result that customer outcomes are improved as also an organization's own financial outcomes. So yes, I think we need to work on some of these things, but I think those are some of the positive fallouts of what we currently did as an emergency, as a necessity. But I think going forward, I think some of these things will also come around. So, I've worked in a GCC before this, so I've seen both sides of the equation, but so more from a cost plus kind of a model from a transfer pricing perspective to, now, being in a domestic BPM where margins are always under pressure and, pricing is, very, very fine. I think the way we add value, of course, is that, we have, moved very quickly to an outcome-based pricing. Yeah. And that's what more and more customers expect. So whether it's on the sales side, where, as I said, we run a lot of telesales processes, or whether it's on the collection side, where we provide significant collection support to our BFSI customers. The outcome-based pricing has been pretty much a USP of ours, particularly on the collection side for a while, and latterly on the sales side, because that's where we get the skin in the game. Yeah. And in my mind, that's the most objective and most concrete way to measure value. Because you're adding customers on a variable basis, you are collecting, bad debts on a variable basis, which goes straight to the bottom line, depending on the bucket of collection which it is. So I think it's very easy to define value for us because, that's where we add value on a variable basis and on an outcome-based basis. Yeah, no, absolutely. So what we have been seeing over the past, couple of years, of course, is this whole shift towards digital, self-service, and all of the sort of things which sort of accompany that. And what's happened, of course, is that this whole the whole pandemic has actually accelerated some of that. Yeah, and that really represents a threat and an opportunity, for people in the calling business. Yeah, threat because the fact that that in the early days, I think nobody in the industry could have the capacity which they had in office pre-COVID. Therefore, particularly organizations, had actually sort of moved into sort of self-service, so intelligent IVRs, cutting down the number of services for which people are available. So typically, for example, take the BFSI industry. The services offered are more linked to, fraud management, card hot listing, and then some of those, where you had the human intervention, whilst all the other BAU services, were sort of more on the IVR, if at all. So we need to see in terms of how that comes back, because, both from a cost perspective for our clients and for their end customers, if they believe that customers are getting used to doing that, then I think that represents a bit of a threat to, the potential number of people who could be outsourced, and the sort of kind of people they may carry, with the BPM industry. Yeah, but this also represents an opportunity in my mind because Conneqt particularly, and as of course a lot of other players in industry have actually moved to the digital journey. So what we have also done is we have actually incubated a separate cell towards the end of last year called the digital business unit. Where we have a set of people who actually sort of do that both as an adjunct to existing customers to sort of upsell, cross-sell to existing customers, as also use that as a door opener for new customers. So whether it's RPA, whether it's in terms of some of the language bot capabilities. That sort of acts as an internal incubation center, with a view to ultimately going to the market. Yeah. So that gives us an opportunity to sort of actually move some of our revenues from the traditional voice, and the sort of vanilla people-based revenues to something which is sort of more value added. And of course, the quantum of the revenue may come down, but we believe that we could add bigger value to the customer as also improve our margins. Yeah. So that's one thing which is happening in the industry. The other thing which is happening is that the realization, and I'm saying something out on the flip side of what I said earlier, there is still this also led to the fact that there is still a realization that people will be required. Yeah. Because there is always a bit of that myth, saying that, people are not required, in the CX chain and everything can be automated. But I think what is also realized is that, when it comes to the end of what a bot can answer, you need a human. Yeah. So, that human-humanized combination to sort of continue to sort of improve and provide customer service, I think that realization is also coming about as part of that pandemic. Yeah. So I'm pretty hopeful. So yes, there could be some contraction in terms of using people in the more vanilla kind of services, which could be automated. But I do believe that, the people will be continue to be used for some of the more value-added services or some of the more value-added queues, for example, maybe a platinum queue for a banking industry or, an equivalent in some of the other industries. So
absolutely,
I think I'm very, very cautiously optimistic that, we continue to see sort of growth in the short to medium term. No, I think as Shalini also mentioned, particularly, with a lot of industries have seen a significant collapse of demand, and pretty much with the exception of a few like pharma and, some of the essential grocery kind of sectors, which have largely remained unscathed. I think we have seen that impact pretty much across. So I think cost, would be an expectation that that costs would continue to be competitive, and that just gives you a stake on the table. That's unfortunately a reality of life that we cannot move away from costs. But I think the way to look at it is, I think we should move away from looking at cost as an absolute number to as a percentage of what outcome you deliver. Yeah. Even if you are doing some processes for the parent, I think we should look at a cost as a percentage of the outcome. So let's look at an F&A process, for example, and let's look at bank reconciliation process. Yeah. So if you are going to sort of save X dollars or X pounds of working capital cost, I think, I would encourage all of us to, work with our parents, work with our principals to look at that rather than, as I said, a cost as an absolute number. So if we can push our people to add value to whatever we are doing, or for example, I would take a cost of collection or a cost of acquisition as an example. Yeah. So then I think it becomes a very, very different ball game and a different topic to talk about rather than cost as an absolute number. But yes, cost as an absolute number, pressure would remain. I think we as leaders will have to work around it. But I would encourage all of us to look at it as a percentage of the outcome, and then of course benchmark it. So benchmark your cost of collection, benchmark your cost of acquisition. To our hiring, Andrew, but I think the nature of hiring is changing, and building on what Shalini mentioned. So we have actually done a complete digital hiring, induction, and a training model. Yeah. The focus could be individuals who are more willing to work from home or have the infra to work from home. We are hiring for specific skill sets in specific locations in terms of, facing off to our individual or respective customers. And we are also seeing in terms of how do we ensure that whoever joins us now, is digitally inducted, is virtually trained through collaboration tools, and how do we quickly get them onto the production seat, which is slightly faster than what we could do in a normal situation. So yes, we are hiring and we are open for business.